always keeping me busy, always making me happy as I'm on strike as a student.
Political Voices. One story, many angles.
Good morning and welcome to Political Voices on 92.5, Enugu's Dream FM. Political Voices is a session of comments, interviews and analyses of trending political stories as they affect and shape the world around you. Today is Tuesday. It is the 8th day of June 2021. And this morning we are taking a look at the Electoral Act amendment matters arising. But before we get to that discussion, there are stories we're tracking within the political space. The federal government on Monday said that it will tighten security in 8 international land and maritime borders with 7 countries through effective policing. The decision came amidst a reported influx of foreigners who were said to be fueling banditry, killing, and other forms of insurgency in Nigeria. The Director General of the National Boundary Commission, a parastatal of the presidency, Adamu Agaji, and Director International Boundaries, Mustafa Ribadu, stated this during the celebration of the 11th edition of the African Border Day, further seeking the cooperation of relevant border management structures in Nigeria and integration of traditional rulers in the border communities to realize the mandate of ensuring security. Moving ahead, posters bearing Atiku for president in 2023 and Charles Soludo for vice president have been sighted at different parts of Abuja, with claims that only the Atiku-Soludo alliance can rescue Nigeria from the brink of collapse. Reacting, the former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, has distanced himself from the posters, saying he was spending his time finding solutions to Nigeria's problems. A statement signed by Atiku's spokesman, Paul Ibe, urged Nigerians not to be misled by the disingenuous plot because he knows nothing about the posters or those who may have promoted it, further maintaining that the posters were the work of mischief makers, urging Nigerians to ignore them. Chuks Ibebu, a former Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the Apex Igbo Sociocultural Organization, Ohanes and Igbo, has insisted that Atiku Abubakar, Bola Tinubu and Governor Yaya Bello should forget their 2023 presidential ambition and support the campaign of an Igbo president in 2023 in order to rebuild Nigeria and beyond. Ibebu made the call during an interview with newsmen on Monday in Umuahia, maintaining that a pan-Nigeria Igbo man or woman as Nigerian president in 2023 will ensure rapid development in all facets of governance in the country. The ex-Ohanese spokesman called on all political parties in Nigeria to zone their 2023 presidential ticket to the southeast zone of Igbo extraction, noting that Nigeria will witness uncommon development with an Igbo person as president, describing Ndibo as nation builders. Those are some of the stories we're tracking within the political space. Remember, you can join this conversation on Facebook, 925 Dream FM. We are streaming live. You can watch this program there. And keep your comments. Remember to use the hashtag Political Voices. Stay with us. Okay, this morning we're taking a look at the Electoral Act amendment and matters arising. We have a number of guests here with us. We'll be taking a look at various aspects of that particular amendment. Well, first of all, we'd like to speak with the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs, Mr. Ajuri Ngelale. After that, we will introduce our in-house guests right here. Good morning to you, Mr. Ngelale, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning to you, my dear brother, and good morning to the great people of Enugu State.
All right, there seem to be some news concerning security interventions in the country. We'd like to know a bit of the details.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the major thing is, for us, we understand it's really very important at this juncture that we dramatically enhance the operational capability of our armed services, given the diversity of the challenges we face, from banditry to insurgency to kidnapping. and many of the others. So what we're doing is over the next 6 to 7 months, many of the investments that President Muhammadu Buhari has made over the last few years are now manifesting. Because, sometimes there's a gestation period between when you are, planning your interventions in relation to weapons upgrades, platforms upgrades, and then the actual delivery of those items. So what we have in the next 6 to 7 months is we're receiving about 20 new aerial assault platforms. So, for example, in July, we'll be receiving 6 A-29 Super Tucano aerial assault fighter jets from the United States of America, which President Muhammadu Buhari ordered in 2017. So 6 will come in July, 6 will come in, another 6 will come in September. So that's 12. That's going to quite significantly enhance our reconnaissance capabilities as well as our precision strike capabilities with precision-guided missile bombs, etc., etc. Then, secondly, we have about 8 of the latest new Reaper drones coming in from the Chinese government. This is important because we're going to be having these Wingloom CH-3 and CH-4 attack drones, unmanned aerial assault vehicles, which again will dramatically enhance our reconnaissance capabilities for monitoring, gathering intelligence in very, very difficult conditions, even in forest areas where you have a lot of tree cover, etc. There's going to be technology that will allow us to make sure that we can get to what is on the ground, no matter what kind of cover is involved. Then, secondly, with the precision strike capabilities of this particular drone technology, we're going to be in a position where we can actually strike from much higher and to do it through all forms of weather types. And also to make sure that we can strike as precisely as possible to the extent that we can limit civilian casualties in the process of striking our targets.
All right, then. Thank you for those details. Let's take you to the issue of electoral reforms. There seems to be a lot of talk in Nigeria that people believe that if one or two things are tweaked in the Electoral Act and the Constitution generally, that maybe, just maybe, Nigeria will be on its way to El Dorado. What are your thoughts about that?
Thank you very much. Let me just start by saying that, electoral reforms are very, very critical. This is really going to mark the first time under President Muhammadu Buhari's leadership where we have a reform process in the National Assembly that is not being hijacked politically by one or two actors, but is rather an operation that's driven by consensus across the political parties. So we're very excited that I believe by the end of July, we will have the Electoral Act amendment completed and signed by President Muhammadu Buhari. The President has promised INEC that they will have nearly 2 years to deal with the new Electoral Act amendment, to have it done on ground so that they can effectively execute their plans for the 2023 elections. But that's not all. In the National Assembly, even this month, where we will be passing the long-awaited petroleum industry bill, even though that's a separate topic for discussion. We've been waiting over a decade for that. That will be done this month, and the next month will be the Electoral Act amendment reform that we will deliver to the Nigerian people by the end of July. I think this is important for several different reasons. One is making sure that obviously people have enhanced confidence in our elections and that we have codified the most important elements that will ensure that we have a quality process that will ultimately lead to a quality result. But then I think there are other issues that may not necessarily be legislative in nature, but are rather having to do with kind of some of the informal political consensus issues. So, for example, before I called in, I noticed that of course I was participating and listening, and there's a lot of conversation around the issue of zoning, for example, and where political offices are going to be zoned to, and some of these other issues that are very, very sensitive in nature. And I think one of the major elements that it kind of gets lost in the national conversation around the issue of zoning is the fact that in a country where you have hundreds of ethnic groups, hundreds of languages, so much diversity, I think one of the challenges is that we have tended toward generalizing or oversimplifying the ethnic makeup of Nigeria to three groups. Of course, that is Hausa Fulani 1, Yoruba 2, and Igbo 3. That's generally what we've done, and that has to do, obviously, with our regional origins and all of that, and that's understood. But when you have that much diversity, and then the question is always about, okay, how do we make sure that, it's one of the three that are, president at what particular time? For the most part, I think Jonathan was an exception that was brought about by death, right? I think one of the challenges you now have is, what about all of the other hundreds of ethnic groups? The Tiv, for example, the Kanuri in the north, the Ogoni in the south. There are just hundreds and hundreds of these groups. So I think we really need to have a national conversation around why it is that there's this oversimplification of the Nigerian kind of ethnic spread amongst three groups. One, in fact, it is much deeper and much wider than that. And we have all of these groups having something to offer. Nobody has a monopoly on talent and merit and capacity. Everybody in this country has something to offer. And if you go to every section of this country, you're going to find very brilliant Nigerians across different fields of endeavor. So I think that's something that as a country we really, really need to look at and really move away from this idea that unless one ethnic group produces the presidency, then we're not going to make it as a country. I think that is not necessarily respectful of the capacity of all of the ethnic groups to have something to offer the country.
Well, just a quick question, but is there anything wrong with a particular or some ethnic groups aspiring to the presidency?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you are a Nigerian citizen, you should aspire. Finish. Simple as that. If you are a Nigerian citizen, you should aspire to be president. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But there's a great difference between aspiring for something and then making the suggestion that, number one, that you should be the only person allowed to aspire at a particular time. That's a separate suggestion. Then another separate suggestion is the suggestion that only you can do it at a level that nobody else can do it at, based on ethnicity, not based on capacity, not based on who I am as an individual, but because of my bloodline, because of where I come from, I would do this more than any other person. I think that's a very dangerous mindset. So I think that's really just all. Any Nigerian citizen from any part of the country should aspire and have a right. And I will say everybody has, the Igbo have a right to say, look, I want to be president. Of course, just like the Ogoni have a right, just like the Ijaw have a right, just like all of these Tiv and Kanuri and all of these other major groups. These are huge groups. So if you go to Borno, for example, we all know that this Borno state is one state. Borno state by itself, by geographical spread, is larger than the entire southeast geopolitical zone of Nigeria, just to give you an idea of how large some of these places are. And Borno is dominated by the Kanuri. It's not Hausa Fulani, it's Kanuri. So just to give you a sense of how diverse this country is, everybody has a right to aspire. And I think all of us should support the aspiration of all of us, because when all of us have an opportunity to aspire to anything, then that means that none of us are being limited. And that's very, very important.
All right, and very many thanks, Mr. Ajurin Gilali. Very many thanks for your perspectives on Political Voices this morning. Mr. Ajurin Gilali is Senior Special Assistant to President Muhammadu Buhari on Public Affairs. And we will continue the conversation in the studio, where I have joining me Dr. Augustine Okolie, Policy Development and Management Consultant, Senior Lecturer on Entrepreneurship, Enugu State Polytechnic, Iwolo, and the former Director of National Orientation Agency, Enugu State. Good morning to you, Dr. Koli, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you and welcome.
We also have in the studio Dr. Des Naja. Dr. Des Naja is a versatile pundit and former head political advisory and consultant, Neighbor to Neighbor, Nigeria. He is the head of the Department of Humanities, Coal City University, Enugu, where he teaches semantics, stylistics, and discusses analysis. Good morning to you, and
Good
thank
morning,
you for
Alex.
joining us.
And Dustin, good morning.
All right. So I will start the conversation with you, Dr. Des Naja. When you listened to a bit of what Mr. Gilani had to say. Of course, we're keeping the discussion within the range of the Electoral Act amendment, but then that one has seeped in. Do you think that we will have this amendment? Do you believe that the Electoral Act will be amended to the taste of the yearnings of Nigerians?
We have always tried since 2009 to perfect the electoral process, which spilled over to 2010 to have the first document in that regard. That's an essence, an aspect of telling you that the Constitution written by the military in 1998-99 was not a perfect document and it cannot be trusted in engineering our electoral process. The document was prepared by people who are not actually trained to manage elections. They never kind of thought about the details of election processes, and that was why we have a lot of loopholes, so many gray areas, so many areas of lack of details, and the wishy-washy aspect of the whole thing made it impossible and imperative also that we must have amendments. So that of 2010 passed, and it helped in some ways to kind of abridge certain long processes involved in electoral management. And in 2014, there was the same attempt to get it done. But the one that was actually controversial and noticed worldwide was what happened in 2018, when there was an attempt to perfect the amendment to accommodate certain changes in the run-up to 2019 general elections. But what was in the front burner then was ordering of elections. Some people felt that conducting the elections in such a way that the presidential election would take place first before others would kind of create bandwagon effect, and the opposition parties kicked against that. But the trick employed by the presidency and other Buharists saw to it that reasons were continuously given to forestall any amendment, and we equally had mentions of things like the electronic voting, which was actually passed in 2017, with a waiver that INEC should have the right to go ahead and begin to think of alternatives to electronic voting if it deemed it necessary, that there would be some infractions in the process if the electronic machines were not working. Now, the card reader came up, and it was used in 2019, and we saw exactly what happened. And now they're talking about perfecting it again to have what it should be. And you recall that what transpired during the Supreme Court proceedings challenging and defending the elections of 2019, the results, the card reader and the electronic voting transmissions were all questioned. And because of lack of provisions in the Electoral Act, the APC had their way, and the president is sustained. Some of the strength of the petitions were weakened because of lack of provisions for some of these items in the Electoral Act. So right now, we expect that there should be an amendment. And the electoral processes right now going on is amendment of Constitution. Town hall meetings are being held across the 6 geopolitical zones, asking for community input, individual input, corporate input, and so on and so forth, in generating something that will give us an acceptable document that will not midwife and kind of give us a perfect constitution that we can rely upon. The amendment is part of it. It's a kind of an appendage to the Constitution. And if it is allowed to go through, then we'll have a perfect documented process of conducting elections. But as it is now, it appears to be an endless journey. Starting from 2009, 10 to the present day, that's around 12 years, and we have not perfected a document that I don't think is up to 200 pages.
All right.
That, as it is now, let's see exactly what happens. Okay. The Kabiru Gaya-led Senate Committee on INEC and then all these document presentations is working, and let us see what comes out of it.
All right. Dr. Augustine Okolie, the Kabiru Gaya-led committee acknowledged that there seem to be lots of inputs regarding the use of electronic voting and electronic transmission of results. But then there are also people within the National Assembly that think that there are plans to scuttle same. So do you envisage a situation where the voice of the people will pitch against strong political interests?
Well, thank you so much. You can see that there's a history behind trying to make a document that will superintend and guide electoral process in Nigeria. It did not just start with the 2009-2010 attempt. Even the one that they succeeded in passing, Mr. President objected, and they could not, give his assent, citing closeness to the election and the logistics problem. However, all the attempts being made to bring electoral procedure and processes to enable free and fair election, because I have to note here that there can never be any perfect document. There's no constitution that is perfect. It still needs some, continuous amendments. And the electoral law is a subset of constitution. Constitution is superior to electoral law. There are provisions of electoral issues at the constitution, but this electoral act and provisions that will guide elections is the bone of contention now. However, some people seem to misunderstand electronic transmission, engagement of ICT, and the one they call electronic voting. You can never, for now, I don't think Nigeria is ripe, and because of the rural areas, they have the power, they don't have the infrastructure for a comprehensive electronic voting. So what they are trying to do is to bypass those points where the process of elections are compromised, the points of collation centers. I've said it here time and time again, that what should be done and what is obtainable in other climes is that results that are sacrosanct, obtained at polling units, are transmitted straight from the polling units to the final, the one they call their server, or their national server, the final point where the results are collected. But this idea of after elections held at various polling units, they will go to Ward Collation Center. It will travel from Ward Collation Center to local government collation center to zonal collation center before it gets. At the end of the day, the major critical ingredients of the result of election are compromised. Those are the points where they manipulate and change the results so that the results obtained at polling units are, quite light years away in terms of difference from what they finally call. And all these laws and the booby traps they set, these mines they set, are what they go to contest at the courts after elections. So what they are trying to do now is to insert into that electoral act, that electoral law that guides election, such that transmission of elections shall become the rule. Then, secondly, that this card reader machine, because they have been using card reader kind of for convenience, for administrative convenience. So if you challenge that card reader was not used, and was not used well, they will tell you it is not even contained in the electoral law. Yeah. So that is what they are trying to incorporate it into the electoral law, so that it becomes justiciable, so that it becomes actionable. When, if not used, if not properly used, then you can also, because they say it is just for identification, it's just for accreditation, that is for comfort and convenience of the electoral takers. So for me, as they bring it up again, the Kabiru Gaya committee, that is the Senate committee on INEC, has brought it again, has gone through second reading, awaiting the final and plenary session reading. We get from Grapevine that surreptitious efforts are being made to scuttle it, because that is why we are saying that the problem of Nigeria lies in the elections, not even in security. Because we get good people, quality people in government, then they will guide other things. Just like they say, find the way of our Lord, and other things will be properly guided. But when we fail to put the right people there, all these things, all these shenanigans that we find, cropping up from here and there within government ecosystem, these are the things that come from with this kind of, people who find themselves in a position of authority, from local government chairman to the highest authority. So we locate the problem of Nigeria in the electoral process. That is the recruitment leadership process. And if we get it right, and that is why some people are trying to scuttle. Some people believe that they can only go to win elections if they leave room for manipulation. So that's why they can, if you want something to be done, whereby the people's votes will count, you will let people at the polling unit, these are what they are trying to do, and people want to find a way to lobby, to scuttle, to even shortchange, and even cancel the idea that it will not pass. But we are watching them. They have not disappointed us. They have brought it, and this is what we need. So I wanted to make a clear, distinct, demarcation between what people call electronic voting and incorporating electronic transmission procedure and using card reader as part of the law. Because the one we used before, when people contest that card readers are now used, they say, okay, but it's not in the law. So that's what they are trying to rectify. I'm saying that it will make progress, but we can never get a perfect document. But we can get a document that is good enough to take us to where we want to be.
All right, then. Very many thanks for that. Dr. Des Naja, well, let's stay on this topic, this particular line, because he has mentioned that there are people who are working hard to scuttle it. And then if it's there in the open that there are people who wouldn't see it come to fruition, what then should be the way out? For those who need it are now up against those who merely don't think it is necessary. So where does that take the process of working on the Electoral Act?
You see, we have in everything, you have people who are substantive actors and people who are fans on substantive actors. In the electoral process, we have so many of them. There are people who can never win elections except if A, B, C, if A or B is contending. And like what happened in the North in 2015 and 2018, majority of the members of the Senate and then House of Representatives from the northern part of the country were said to have won election because they were seen to have identified with Muhammad Buhari. And if that is the case, we still have things like that in the southwest and then in the southeast and the other zones. So people like that would not, and you recall that Buhari's election in 2019 was highly contentious and the challenges were strong, except that loopholes in the law, like Dr. Austin mentioned, loopholes in the electoral law gave them the leeway to wriggle out of the mesh that they pushed themselves into. So if we need to kind of get it right, what is required is for public enlightenment and the mobilization to ensure that the right things are done. Some of these things they claim are impossible are possible, because I recall that during our experiment in Neighbor to Neighbor, we were able to capture votes directly within our server from the about 152,000 polling units in the country. And that could just happen by pressing a punch, and you view exactly what was happening in any part of the country from our room there in Maitama. So if that worked in 2011, why can't it work now? By 2023, it will be 12 years. So there should be improvement and perfections that people should expect to take place in all these things. Except that I kind of query some of the things that we do. we don't actually take certain processes as seriously as they should be taken. Like, look at what happened. Now, the elections were conducted in 2019. And right now, as we're sitting, the process is leading to the next election. We'll just start in the next 17 months. It's no longer 2 years. The presidential election will take place sometime on the 16th of February 2023. Fine. And it is now that we're beginning to talk here about amendments of the elections. So that's what we expect that to have. The whole thing should have commenced immediately after the 2019 elections. To say this, especially after the Supreme Court judgment that created the tension in the country and worldwide about the Nigerian situation, that things were not working. And then leeways were created. So the delay is another booby trap. Sometimes I don't trust some of the processes carried out in the National Assembly. Probably they want to continue to amend the Constitution and the Electoral Act. It's another way of making money. Why can't it just be done? I know that 3 or 4 of us here in this studio can sit down and do a good Electoral Act. And then the lawyers will perfect it. It's not something you need to go and begin to say, we travel, we did this and that, and then money that was supposed to be used in doing specific projects within the constituencies will now be wasted in paying honorarium to politicians who already earn huge sums of money by what they do and what they do not do. So let's see. We need thorough social mobilization so that there would be actions. We've seen what happened. The answers. You see how it happened. If sometimes you feel if certain people don't have the ear to listen, you create those ears for them to kind of hear what you want to say. So the Nigerian populace will need to rise and say, this is what we want. We want an Electoral Act amended. And then it should be done within so and so period of time. You don't just continue to allow. These are not the way they were in the 60s. The world is in a hurry. You recall right now that Rwanda, that was in the kind of mess we are now in 1994, has made a breakthrough by becoming the first African country to open a factory for Android phones. And that is because they're moving forward, they are thinking forward and moving forward. But we've continued to retreat along the line, primordial lines of ethnicity and so on and so forth. And then why in the Rwandan currency, you have the computer and ICT accessories. Our own currencies are dominated by cows and Ruga sites. That is not correct. That is not what we expect. So Nigeria should do what? Change and think positively. Okay. And who is Nigeria? Nigeria is made up of Nigerians. Okay. And then we should do that. And that's part of what we are doing right now by speaking here right in the studio.
Let's get the thoughts of Dr. Augustine Okoli on the issue of horse trade and politics. The people who need it will have to speak with the people who are indifferent regarding the Electoral Act amendment. What techniques should the people who need it badly employ to really get those who are indifferent about it to really see reasons to flow with it?
Well, it's not about needing it. It's about due process. The correct way to do it such that good results will be achieved. It is only in Nigeria. It is only in Nigeria that I know that due process are not followed. Somebody will be depending on somebody's name to win an election. Like my colleague said here, that some people are depending on somebody who has only to just identify with you and you win an election. Of course, democratic value has that added. For me, we are talking about due process, right things to be done, doing the right things at the right time. Let the agencies conduct a free, fair, and acceptable elections, such that people's votes, whose mandate it is, that will convey, their sovereignty, their will and their desire, their demands, so that you now do what they want you to do. Unlike, because people who knew that they are not going to be subjected to tests by the people, therefore they do whatever they like. During elections, they find, a very huge sieve to pass through, and become whatever they are, either from councillor, House of Assembly, all elective offices. But if you know that the people who will finally put you to test again and return you to your position will make input, you have to always consult them. People will not have to beg them to consult them. Like I know in some part of the country now, some of the legislators no longer go to their villages. They never consult their people. They do not even know what they want. They still hope to win elections, maybe depending on somebody's name or depending on certain circumstances to win. But that is, away from a democratic ethos, away from democratic principles, away from the ethics of pure and proper way of conducting elections. So what we are saying is that due process, due diligence, free and fair conduct. And that is why INEC is put between the Red Sea and the deep and the lake of fire. They don't know which one to do. Is it those who appointed them? Is it to do the right thing? Is it to defend their integrity? So it is even, a lot of corruption coming. So the truth is that what is needed is not some people saying that they need it, and the other people say they don't need it. The right thing have to be done. The law have to take place, and you have to swing with what the law provides. So that let them do the proper thing. That is how it is done in other places. Those who are even emulating the proper, democracies all over the world. Be it in America, be it in UK, be it in other European countries or in Asia. Those who are democracies, they don't beg the questions. They provide the laws that will guide the proper conduct of elections. But in this place, all things happen. I don't want to go down what is going on in the polity. But if, like I said, that their problem is located, a new research has come up that the problem of Nigeria is contingent to the way people are selected during the selection process of a leadership group. That if you do it well, then you solve a lot of problems. So because of all these leakages, those who know that they cannot win a proper election are now going to scuttle, going to compromise. So it's not a case of whether they need it or whether the other people don't need it. It is the proper thing to do. It is the proper way to conduct election. And if you cannot win election, you will always fail election. But if you are good, you are popular, because it's a popularity contest. So it's not a case of whether we need it. It is the right thing to do, and they should do it. But INEC cannot make laws. It is the laws that they are made that they use to conduct elections.
All right, then. This is Political Voices on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. This morning, we are taking a look at Electoral Act Amendment and matters arising. In the studio with me is Dr. Augustine Okoli and Dr. Desna Aja. And they've been answering the tough questions. Let's find out the thoughts of those that are joining us on Facebook. And we'll open the phone lines in a bit, 09020020925. We have messages on Facebook already. We have Comrade Jeremiah Kore saying that electronic voting is seriously needed in 2023 general elections due to the prevalence of irregularities, due to the prevalent pandemic and insecurity across the country. India is suffering COVID-19 because they undermined COVID-19 guidelines during their last elections. And Amadioha Inya Egu says that the Electoral Act amendment is long overdue and ought to have been done before now, if only we've had leaders that look inward. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. All right, do call us back, 090200200925. Azor Akuliko says the amendment of the Electoral Act is long overdue so that our votes will count. Today, those who didn't win elections are ruling us. We saw what happened in Lagos, Kano, Kogi, etc. Secondly, I don't know why. All right. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
What's the name and location?
My name is Okonkwo Sunday. I'm calling from Kogi State.
You're welcome.
Mine is the whole constitution being changed. If we claim that we love Nigeria, we need something entirely new. We are amending what we did not make. It's like we are deceiving ourselves. We keep on amending the same thing, having the same result that does not work.
Well,
unless our politicians decide to do the needful, we are just wasting our time and scarce resources. We need a referendum. Let the legislator find a way of sending the bill to the president for nothing.
Yes, that's if you can hear me. Are you still there?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sure you've been listening to lawyers talk about it. You cannot have any constitution if the old one does not provide for it. You have to create a path to that new constitution. When you say
That's
you
what I'm saying.
when you say you
The
want
to concentrate on how to send the bill for this referendum to the president, so that it will be added to our constitution. Then from there they will now conduct it, and we have a new constitution that will give back to a new Nigeria.
All right then. So let's take more messages on Facebook. We have messages here. This one is from Anthony Fayok, who says that I want to know the electoral amendment will make it possible for someone who registered in Enugu but is residing in Bauchi to be able to use his voter's card and vote in presidential election. Wow, what a question. All right. I'm sure that Dr. Des Naja can respond to that. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
What's your name and location?
This is Honorable Michael Goshiku Cheje from Obabi Nimbo.
You're welcome.
Right. Based on the talk this morning, the Electoral Act Amendment, we see that the election in Nigeria, you can only say that Electoral Act Amendment is going to be fair, not to have a law, perfect law in Electoral Act. But what I want to say is that Nigeria should engage the Electoral Act Amendment in a situation that it goes into digital. You see? So we have NIN, National Identification Number. Then we can use it and go into digital voting. That will reduce the number of life risk and some other challenges in election.
All right, then. Thank you for your contribution. Do call us again. 0902 0020925 on Facebook. Also, Francis Omaganamani says the Electoral Act Amendment has become so imperative in this country to address the indecencies of rigging and other problems, thuggery, being witnessed in the past elections, which have raised fear whether people's votes do count. All right, to the phone lines now. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Alex.
What's your name and location?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. What's your name and location?
Yeah, this is Decency. Yes, Mayor from Aban in Kano West.
You're welcome.
I wonder how this constitutional amendment will work. All the electrical voting that Nigeria is requesting for the National Assembly for more than 6 years now, they cannot be able to do it. To pass it, so that it will become a law. So that by 2023, if there will be Nigeria by 2023, we know those that will go to Abuja and those that will not go to Abuja.
All right. Well, specifically speaking, we are discussing the Electoral Act Amendment. Electoral Act, we're not discussing the whole document. The whole document is too big. That's the Constitution. We're talking Electoral Act. We're election specific today on the program. Cyprian Nicodemus is writing a message on Facebook. Says, please, my question is, has the presidency accepted that the president will put his signature on the Electoral Act after its amendment? This question came to my thought since all we hear today is the presidency has said instead of the president to address the subjects in the states, all right, on the state of the nation. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
What's your name and location?
My name is Matthias Abuse. I'm calling from.
Are you calling us from a hall? Because the sound of your voice is bouncing off the wall in the place you are.
Yeah, I'm calling from my room.
All right, let's hear you.
Okay, it should, just like election should be something like when somebody has gone to ATM to withdraw and when you are money, when you withdraw, the thing we got, that information will be given to you as you are. That's when you vote. The thing is supposed to go to that where the regular cards are there. We should not go going to the old ancient way of voting and this and that. They're supposed to understand the electoral base so that the election will be fair. But just like what happens in other advanced countries.
All right, then. Thank you so much for your thoughts on that. Let's have some more messages here. We'll have Maxwell Evaristo Sekene saying the Electoral Act amendment is a welcome development if the president will give his assent to it. All right, then. Let's go to the phone line 090200202925. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Jimmy, I call from Enugu.
You're welcome.
I think this exercise, should be the fourth or the fifth time they are spending taxpayers' money. Taxpayers' money. Election is coming. They will start saying that they want to amend the constitution. At the end of the day, they will do nothing. Let's assembly start again. I don't think like when you want to win it comes to house and it's not disturbing, you just give them the big bone. You just retain the bone and the little will continue. That's the what they are doing. They are party.
All right, then. Thank you for that. Let's see if we can take one or two more messages on Facebook now before we come back to the studio. Michael De Good says that let the amendment include electronic voting and more creation of polling units, both in urban and rural areas, to enable all citizens to participate in the voting. All right, let's come back to the studio and ask you a few questions. Dr. Desnaja, a lot of people seem to be worried of the fact that the president may not sign the amendment if and when the National Assembly conclude work on it. Is this a genuine fear on the part of the people who share it?
The fears are justified. You know what happened in 2018 when about three attempts were made to amend the document, and the presidency would always come up with fresh reasons for not signing the document. One, they cited typographical errors. Another one, the process being so close to the election itself, and there's certain aspects of the provisions having been bypassed by time. So that was quite, I worried the idea of commencing this particular process of amendment of the Constitution of the Electoral Act right now when the first election was concluded in 2019, and the litigations ended around that same period, and issues bordering on all these things we're talking about came out openly during the Supreme Court trial. So that should have given them that should have actually sounded the bell for them to say, let's start now to amend the Electoral Act, so that by now, about a year or so to the commencement of the electoral processes, there must have been perfections. But if the delay continues, the presidency will always give reasons to kind of say, I would not do this. And when some of these reasons appear to be genuine, it is not anybody's making, but the making of the people who are actually doing the amendment themselves. So the fears are justified. Recall, you see, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And these people appear to be doing just that by not starting the whole process when it should. But the APC government has shown definitely that they can always find loopholes and then delay processes. And if the president says, I will not, you see, the veto power is there. I noticed also the weakness of the National Assembly itself. In some other democracies, the veto power should have been called to play. If the president says, I will not sign, and after 90 days, the legislature should come up again with a document and then say, because of this, we are now invoking our section so of the Constitution to veto the president's refusal to sign this document, and we are therefore signing it. It becomes law. So if we are afraid of the president not signing, it is because we are disappointed by the conduct of members of the National Assembly for not invoking that power. And the earlier they do that, the better. The more frequently they do that, the better. So that the president will know that he is not an absolute ruler. This is a democracy, and every part must play its own role. The three arm zones, the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive, all of them are supposed to play parts.
All right.
The journalists are creating the awareness, but the awareness created by journalists are ignored, and that is unfair.
All right, then. Dr. Augustine Okolie, should the National Assembly go ahead to really take a step further if and when the president refuses? That is, if he refuses to assent to any form of amendment to the Electoral Act. Should the National Assembly go ahead, go all the way?
Well, I think it is only the president that have the power of veto. What the National Assembly are expected to do is to repass it again, and it becomes law. It's a very simple process. But the worry, like you said, is that the House of the current National Assembly, both at the House of Representatives and the Senate, have surprised everybody by telling us that whatever the president wants is what they will do. And if the president's body language, according to them, is not favorable to any bill, then they will now decline to pursue that bill. So it is a very huge disaster. It is a pandemic, what is going on in the National Assembly as we speak. They have set a very bad precedence, very bad record. Apart from Electoral Act, their performances, I mean the current 9th Assembly, will go down in history as one of the poorest performance at the National Assembly. The idea, the philosophy, the principle of checks and balances is not being served, where the legislative arm should be checking the executive. Then what they are doing there is trying to align or kowtow or trying to do the bidding, being a rubber stamp. Even the speaker said in plenary that if being a rubber stamp is what we call them, it's better to be a rubber stamp than to oppose the government. So I don't know what else that can be more disappointing. So they know the right thing to do. If you pass a law, the other time it was close election, fine. This time around, if I dedicated, President withdrawing his assent is not an impediment. They go ahead and repass the law and it becomes law. That's what the Constitution provided. And in the course of this discussion, I noticed that so many people are mixing up the constitutional amendment and the Electoral Act. Yeah. So I want to make it clear so that if they don't understand, Electoral Act is a subset, is a content of the Constitution. A Constitution alone cannot take care of what the provisions as per the procedures and processes of taking election, how they organize it. But during the constitutional amendment, they can, according to the request of Nigerians and demand, they can, kind of unbundle the activities and functions of INEC. They can remove so many, weighty burden that is placed on the head of INEC. And like my colleague said here, those who prepared those constitutions are not Democrats. They do not even know how elections are taken. That is why, with the military mentality, the Decree 24 of 1999, that is what the Abubakar, who ushered in democracy, that is what they activated in conjunction with 1979 Constitution, and to bring in this current administration. So they do not know that. And people are of the opinion that this instrumental amendment is just begging the question. That it should go the whole hog and bring in. But since they are a government institute, it becomes difficult. It becomes a lacuna. They cannot just overnight dismiss the whole political structures, the whole democratic structures, and start afresh. But like he said, you pave a way whereby when time comes, gradually we'll get there. But it is slow and steady. That wins the race.
Yes, the conversation will continue after we take the news at 10, the news in 90 seconds, and then we'll ask the questions as to whether the happenings in the country should give the National Assembly that real impetus to be on their heels and pick up their pieces and run for success. We'll continue this conversation on Political Voices after the news. Do stay with us.
You can rest assured we will take this jolly ride with you. I'll bet it's on you, 'cause you are a winner. We'll win with you. We'll run with you all the way. We'll share your dreams and we'll turn them to reality. We're invested in your tomorrow.
ARM, invested in your tomorrow.
It is time for celebration. Oh. 30 years bustling with jackpot. Gomez. Little Messi.
Ooh, which kind of thing be this safe? I beg, make I go on Jen. But wait, oh, it be like light still day. Bia, no so. Hope say you no forget buy electricity units.
Ah, not true. Wetin we go do now because nights don't reach and today safe na weekend.
That one no be problem now. Make una just go www.buypower.ng. Enter EEDC meter number, enter phone number, enter state, and in less than 3 minutes, you don't receive your electricity unit. It dey easy as 1, 2, 3. You fit even download their mobile app, Buy Power, for iOS store or Google Store. They use am, they go.
Yeah, the thing work, oh. No so, just go call buypower.ng, make you thank them, because now buypower.ng save you today.
Oh, guy, what's in the make you scatter house like this, eh? I beg, you help me see my Airtel SIM. I carry and give Shade yesterday, oh. But you know they use am again now. Yeah, you don't carry my bonus give landlord picking. Now today you go pack out. On top Airtel SIM?
Yes, so if you don't reach 15 days where you never use your Airtel SIM, go find them now. Because why? Ogonga will full on top of. Hey, get 2,000 naira airtime plus extra 200 MB for just 200 naira. The more you recharge, the more you are woofo. To begin enjoy this awoof, just dial *241*7#. Terms and conditions, Joe.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Please listen to this announcement. You are invited to apply for a job opening at Hookup Sky Limited for the position of front desk assistant, customer service officers, and news reporters. Required skills include fast thinkers, ability to meet marketing deadlines, fluently and confidently communicate in English language, and multitasking. Required qualifications include O-level certificate, OND, HND, degree, and more. For more information, please call 0909 5358673 or 0909 5358675. Again, 0909 5358673 or 0909 5358675. Announcer, Management.
Yes, I won it. Oh my gosh. Guys, since I joined BigBet, I've been cashing out steadily. You don't mean it. Look at you. Let me tell you, they offer bigger odds, 315% accumulator bonus, got one bonus, and you can even cash out anytime, whether in the shops or online. They also have virtual games and jackpots. You see, they even pay winnings instantly. Guy, choose bigger rewards. Visit www.biggiebet.com to claim your 120% welcome bonus now. BiggyBet, bigger reward, bigger life.
Enugu's #1 choice for music and talk.
92.5 Dream FM.
That's how we do it.
92.5%. 이게 현재 나의 위치. 이게 현재 나의 위치. 이게 현재 나의 위치. 92.5%. 이거 현재 나의 위치. 이게 현재 나의 위치. 이게 현재 나의 위치.
92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. My dream, my reality.
There can only be one. 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. 92.5%. 이게 현재 나의 위치. 이게 현재 나의 위치. 이게 현재 나의 위치. 92.5%. 이거 현재 나의 위치. 이게 현재 나의 위치. 이게 현재 나의 위치.
92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. My dream, my reality.
There can only be one. 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM.
This is Dream FM News.
Good morning and welcome to the news in 90 seconds on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. My name is Deborah Mba Otenaike. Retired Major General Obi Umahi has resigned his position as the chairman of the Southeast Security Committee. Following the increased insecurity across the nation, the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) has urged corps members to avoid protests and be security conscious at all times. The federal government has described the incessant attacks on critical public facilities such as police stations and the Independent National Electoral Commission as acts of terrorism. The federal government has declared the National Task Force on the prohibition of illegal importation and smuggling of arms, ammunition, night weapons, chemical weapons, and pipeline vandalism, NATFORCE, as illegal, as well as ordered the collapse of all illegal security outfits in Nigeria. Now, on the foreign scene, the United States has imposed visa restrictions on the Anglophone regions of Cameroon for inciting violence in the English-speaking western part of Cameroon. That's the news in 90 seconds and 92.5 in Nugu's Dream FM. Join us at 12 noon for updates on all of these stories and more. Thanks for listening. My name is Deborah Mba Oteneke. Up next, Political Voices continues with Alex Obodo. Stay tuned.
Listen, I am telling you that
I don't agree. I don't. No. You can't say that.
Politics. Where is good governance?
Everyone is a political animal.
I don't like politics.
But I love political voices.
On Political Voices, we talk politics. In a country of diverse interests, who gets what, when, and how is politics. And this is our business on Political Voices. Nigeria, a country of over 160 million people. Political Voices is gauging the temperature, setting the agenda. Political Voices exclusively on Dream FM, 9 o'clock in the morning, Monday to Friday.
Welcome back. This is Political Voices on 92.5. Enugu's Dream FM. We're still discussing the Electoral Act Amendment matters arising. And we're still having the studio Dr. Augustine Okoli and Dr. Des Naja. Dr. Des Naja, I would like to get this thought from you. A lot of people are looking towards the National Assembly because the argument out there is that they are actually the ones that are representing the people. So there is a lot on their table now. What should be happening there, especially with all that is happening? Everyone is looking to the National Assembly to rescue this democracy. Do you think they have an opportunity to do that now?
They have that opportunity. It is actually right for people to begin to look up to members of the National Assembly because you have a National Assembly that comprises 460 people out of a population of about 200 million. That means that each one of them there is representing someone else. I mean, so many other people. And if you are representing something, that person becomes that person becomes anxious about your performance. That is what is happening. We are anxious about the performances of these members of this National Assembly to protect our interests, to ensure that good governance is assured and that things go the right way, so that we get what we want in the electoral process and in development. Development can only be anchored and properly carried on if we had good elections to elect leaders who are conscious of the needs of the people. But as it stands now, it doesn't appear as if we have what we want in the National Assembly. You know, it started in 1999 when Obasanjo boasted about having the National Assembly in his pocket because he could dip his hand into the National Treasury, create Ghana must go of Naira and then a share, and then he would get what he wanted, except that he failed to get the third term. That couldn't pass through. And so many others. And right now it has boiled down to having a leadership in the National Assembly that can boldly tell people that rubber stamping should be seen as being better than opposition. That is to show you that we have something wrong going on there, that we don't have that credibility that we expect. We are not asking the members of the National Assembly to oppose the government because some of them belong to the same political party. And even those in opposition are Nigerians who should expect that peace and security should be assured. But what we are asking is that there should be genuine arguments and that things should be settled based on superior arguments. But when the other part refuses to argue and then only one part, the executive, continues to have its way, it means that something is wrong there and the National Assembly should cease up. So sometimes when you watch their plenaries on television and then even on the internet, you discover that participation is not anything to write home about. Many of them remain absent, and then some who are there sitting down are sleeping. That doesn't give you exactly that confidence that you are being represented. So we expect a National Assembly that is robust, that is clear-cut in its own focus, and then the determination. What do they want? What do my people want? What should I give them? Appropriate representation. And that is it. As it stands right now, the re-impression we have is that many of them are benefiting from the negatives of the country. And because of that benefit, they don't want those negatives to be wiped away. That is not fair. What should dominate is what? Not the interest of the man who is representing, but the interest of those being represented. They should cut off all those doors, sit down there at the National Assembly, do their jobs, and stop harassing people with comments that are inflammatory. So that is what we want. We want a National Assembly of people of character, people of strength of character, who should begin to do what? Do it the way it is done everywhere and the way it should be done in Nigeria. Appropriate representation.
Okay, then. Dr. Augustine Okodie, is it now or never for the National Assembly? Based on what is happening in the country now, every part of Nigeria has got some form of security challenge or the other. Is it now or never for the National Assembly?
Yes, they have become existential. Majority of these non-performers in the National Assembly cannot even go home. They say it themselves at the plenary. I saw one lamenting and crying at the floor of the National Assembly that he cannot even go home because the people are waiting for him. The people are waiting for him because they have gone there and have become a rubber stamp of the executive. That is not why he was sent there. Now, your question is whether it is now or never. They have the opportunity to redeem their leftover of whatever credibility they should have. So they have opportunity to do something, even if it is this Electoral Act. If they can do something, they can. You see, the process of lawmaking is so tedious that most people do not even notice it. It's so strong, so all-encompassing. So that is where politics is played. Lobbying, convincing people with logic and good reasoning, talking to people, consulting people. You know, if you have something you feel that people should help you, vote for it. You lobby. Not Ghana must go lobby. You appeal to their conscience and good reasoning. But the problem of this 9th Assembly is that the APC government have secured majority. So I do not even share, when I say 9th Assembly, sometimes I do not like it because there are some very good people in the opposition. But because it cannot do much when the majority have their way. So, but when I say 9th Assembly, you know that it's the government of the day. Robust, like my colleague said, could be when the opposition have more members at the National Assembly, then they will engage and equalize the executive. Just like the Senate President and the 8th Assembly of Saraki. I told people that, look, this is what we require in this country. And first tenure of this government, you can see that they even did a lot of things. All these borrowings, all these misadventure, all these security issues couldn't have happened because they could have checked them. But this one that you have a loose, a very, very ineffective, sleeping group of people that are going to National Assembly only to get Ghana must go, approving loans. They get the money, they give them their own share. They approve another one. They don't care who will pay for the loan.
Is there proof that they
of course, they have been announcing the loans that they have been taking. There is no, I'm telling you, this is a fact of history. I'm not concocting it. They have been taking loans every time they come. They bring $1.5 billion. They bring another 900 million pounds. They bring it is a daily thing. It's not a case of radio program. I'm quite aware and conscious of where we are. But it is true. So we cannot even we have to bring it to people's notice in case they don't even know that they have always approved whatever loan they bring for them to approve, whether we can pay or we cannot pay. And even the details of the loan will come later when another government comes into the federal government. So the truth is that they are ineffectual, they are ineffective, they are non-performers. I mean, the current National Assembly, they have not done anything that we demand for our accolade. As far as we are concerned, they put us in this mess that we are because they have the power to check the executive and equalize them because this is a democracy. This is not a military government, Alex. This is not a military government where the commander-in-chief or the military head of state will just come and decree and use the executive fiat to, push it down our throat. But the National Assembly, who are supposed to be, representing us, are there and just moping, and then you just assenting and just approving whatever they bring. Therefore, that is why where we are, because this is the problem. So whether it is do or die now, I said that they have little opportunity to try to redeem their sagging image, which nobody can reckon. It is just a disaster that has happened. Whatever happened, whether it is security, whether it is in the economy, whether it is even the what is it called, the corruption, or whatever they intend to pursue as their policy, they have failed because National Assembly is ineffective. National Assembly is lackluster. There's nobody you can mention in National Assembly who is a member of the majority party who has even put his feet on the ground. Can you imagine a member of the National Assembly, APC stock, a former governor of Nasarawa State, coming to challenge the Southern Governors Forum and their declarations, telling them that they owe loyalty to president, as if this is a military government? The loyalty of our people is to the Constitution and Federal Republic of Nigeria, not to an individual. It is the military that talk about loyalty to individuals. We are loyalty to the sovereign of the country. We are loyal to, we show our loyalty to a sovereign country, and our loyalty should go to the Constitution, which is the grand norm, which is the authority, not to individual, because anybody can occupy the office. So it is not a life, a position. All so right. That you say, like the French, the man Mitterrand say, I am the state. It doesn't happen here. This is a democracy. Nobody can be the state. The state is the sovereign, and the people has the state. So that is what we are expecting, but they're not doing the work. Right. That is why everything is going the way they are going now. All right. Until they change. So, which, like you said, if they use this opportunity, even the little vestige of what they have, let them use it to settle the electoral matter, because that is where the drains come, so that they can now drain the swamp.
All right, let's quickly take the thoughts of some of our listeners who may be joining us via phone. 0902002095. We're still talking about the Electoral Act Amendment and matters arising. And we already have a call. The buzzing line is the line is buzzing already. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. We can barely hear you.
I'm talking from Virginia.
All right, go ahead and make your contribution.
What I'm trying to share in this case is just, you see those guys that you send there in order to represent us, these guys having no interest on us. That is why they are kept silent. They are getting worse in this country. Why a representative which is sent by our law cannot protect our simple interests? They cannot talk to us. President talk to them, they are listening to a single individual. It's very, very simple and unpatriotic. Let them change their process.
All right, I'm sorry, but your thoughts, what you're saying is fluctuating. We didn't quite get everything you said, but keep those calls coming. 0902002095. That is the number you can reach us on. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Alex. Good morning. This is Ife Buche from Abakaliki.
You're welcome, Ife Buche.
Alex, yes, it's unfortunate. The current political actors in Nigeria, across the board, north, south, east, west, are suffering from credibility problems. They are not credible at all. If one says that it is the election that is so near that stopped the signing of the electoral amendment and all of that, election is come and gone, but because it won't favor the politicians, no one is pushing it. No one is talking about it. It's unfortunate. There is so much credibility problem across the board. I tell you something, Alex. When Tafawa Balewa, when Agui Ironsi was nominated as Chief of Army Staff, they not kicked against it. The British man, the British general, then kicked against it. But Agui Ironsi said, Tafawa Balewa said, he is the most senior army personnel. He must occupy that place. You see, the current politicians are lacking credibility. Thank you, God bless you.
Thank you so much, Ifebuche, for your call. 090200200925. One last call before I get the final thoughts of my guests in the studio. 090200200925. All right, the last caller. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name and location?
I am Oga Joseph calling from Benue State.
You're welcome.
The brilliant ninth assembly we are having. I'm sorry to use this word. The politics we are playing in Nigeria is just a celebration of mediocrity. And I pray the Lord God will help us so that the country will not turn upside down. Thank you.
All right, and thank you for keeping it simple. And I'd like to get your final thoughts in a minute and a half, or I should say maybe in a minute. Dr. Desnaja, your final thoughts on the issue of the Electoral Act amendment.
The members of the National Assembly should exactly begin to do the right thing, and they don't have the luxury of extended time. I don't know if somebody will begin to say we postpone the elections. You recall that what happened in 2018 was that the presidency and the APC continued to complain about some of the timelines expected to have been respected had already been overtaken before the documents were presented. So they should do it as fast as possible so that things will begin to happen. If there is an amendment, if there is a successful amendment, there should be the signing. And if the signing is delayed, they should have enough time to do what? To begin to rework the document and, if possible, pass it without having to go to the president to bypass the president's veto. So that is what it is. We can't just continue to sleep over something that is of national importance, of even international importance, because if there is democracy and peace in Nigeria, the whole world will be happy. The African continent will benefit, and then our investment partners will begin to trust us and get things done in Nigeria to alleviate the feelings and the hardship that Nigerians are all crying about. So that is what it is. Everybody, all eyes on members of the National Assembly. 460 of them, or 469 of them, 109 senators, and then 360 members of the House of Representatives. And the presidency should equally begin to think of a Nigeria that is made up of people, not made up of cows. I believe, I don't know if Ngelari has dropped it. His phone, he should be listening to us also now feelings. That he should tell his boss that Nigerians are people, not cows.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's have your final thoughts, Dr. Okolie. In a minute, we've run down the clock actually. Let's have your final thoughts on the discussion.
Well, I locate the problem of Nigeria on the recruitment process through elections. And if they get it right, a lot of things will shape up. Now, as per the electoral law, that is amendment that is in the process of getting through, I want to urge the National Assembly to get their loans and at least do that one for Nigerians. Get it passed, and if Mr. President failed or refused to, or withdraw his assent, then they can also pass it again and it becomes law. Time is still there because Mr. President have no reason not to sign. He's no longer contesting. He has at least that opportunity to also redeem his image and make Nigerians smile, because that law will strengthen the electoral system and the electoral processes in Nigeria. So we look up to them to do the right thing.
All right, then that does it for the program this morning. Political Voices. Very many thanks to Dr. Augustine Okolie, Policy Development and Management Consultant, Senior Lecturer on Entrepreneurship, Enugu State Polytechnic, Iwolo, and former Director of National Orientation Agency, Enugu State. Thank you for your perspectives on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
And Dr. Desnaja, versatile pundit and former head political advisory and consulting, Neighbor to Neighbor Nigeria. He's the head of the Department of Humanities, Coal City University, Enugu, where he teaches semantics, stylistics, and discourse analysis. Thank you so much for your input on the program.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. And then,
all right.
That has been a nice one, having been away for some time. I am back, and then I will continue to bubble.
Thank you. And special thanks to Lotando Kereke, my producer, and Okeodogu, my executive producer. My name is Alex Obodo. Stay safe.
8 times 500 naira, 4,000 naira. 8 times 5,000. Hi!
I beg. Where on they see this money?
Money care. Now the ogbonge bonus we dey sama me as I buy new SIM card. See, then they give me double data subscription plus 8 times a woof anytime I recharge.
Oh boy, what's up for me now?
You know say you fit buy SIM card now for any accredited Airtel shop, ba? Just go there with your NIN, just like that.
Sure guy.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Enugu State College of Education Technical Enugu hereby informs all prospective degree program direct entry candidates